with those group of people who would create more of their own kind, leaders. And the one thing that binds us all here is that love, love for various aspects, love for Gurudev, love for his vision, love for leading these values of Sanatana Dharma. And in the past 20 plus years, it has been always pleasure to see batches after batches Yuva Kendra coming together, molding themselves. Yesterday I was telling Sharanya that I have been around so long that the first batch of Yuva Kendra in Vijayawada, this is about 21 years ago, they got married and their children have gotten married and they are in Chick, and now their children are coming to Balavihar to be able to see about 3 to 4 generations within a lifetime, and to see what kind of seeds that Gurudev has sown, that they're constantly growing. That fills my heart whenever I come in such gathering. And people ask me, what do you do in your downtime? This is my downtime. To spend time with aspiring youth. Welcome to Dallas for this fourth regional planning conference. It started here and it started 4 years ago. And now, to accommodate all the various groups, now we have them in 2 different hemispheres, in 2 different regional planning conferences. And I hope and pray that by 2016, we would have to have at least 5 regional planning conferences in 5 different zones. That way we would grow. So let me invoke Puja Gurudev's blessings, Puja Guruji's blessings, and all the gods up in the heaven. And today we had satsang in heaven, right? Or group discussions in heaven. So may they take their time off to bless us all. Let us start with an invocation. We'll chant 3 times Om, then Sahana Bhavatu, then Guru Brahma, and then we will get into the topic of love. सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. When I was watching Interstellar, the main character, the actress there, says it is the intangible love that binds us all. That is the strongest emotion that keeps us together with such strength that we actually look forward for another day to come by. I would not argue if in Interstellar that particular statement in that particular point was pretty impactful or not. That is a different discussion altogether when we have a movie workshop on Interstellar. But definitely one thing that led to this beautiful environment called Chinmaya Mission was intense love of that grand visionary called Swami Chinmayananda, whom we very belovedly call as Gurudev. The first interaction between Puja Gurudev and Swami Tapon Maharaj regarding giving this knowledge to us all did not turn out well. Because Swami Tapon Maharaj was like, why do you want to get back into that samsara again? Probably he was testing Swamiji, Gurudev. Probably he was testing his intentions, intensity, and the foundation from which Gurudev was talking. And after a while, he comes back again with a better depth of clarity, and he convinces Swami Tapon Maharaj. It all started that fateful day when Puja Gurudev was sitting on the loving banks of Mother Ganga. She kind of inspired him that she is born in the Himalayas, like the Brahma Vidya, which is within the realms of various ashrams. And if the Brahma Vidya can be compared to Ganga, then it is Jnana Ganga. Though Gangaji is born in the Himalayas, if you have read her story, she had to go through such various phases to finally land and bless the entire land and humanity, that it was the inspiration for generations of, I'm not just talking of 100 years or 1,000 years, more than few 100,000 years, she has been a constant inspiration for an inward journey for millions of great masters. And she did her trick on Gurudev too. That he was sitting there, and the inspiration that struck him there was, though she is born up here, she doesn't contain herself to be trapped in the Himalayan mountains. From there, she flows down. She flows down all the way to finally lose her identity. If you have done yatra in the Himalayan regions, there are 7 main tributaries that join in to make Mother Ganga finally that big mass of water flowing. And she gathers everything in, blessing everybody that she touches. And finally, when in the Bay of Bengal, she merges, knowing very well that she'd be merging, losing her complete identity. And what kind of losing the identity? That there is no more Ganga there, there is only Sagar. The delta which Gangaji forms is called Ganga Sagar. It's a very beautiful, picturesque place. Little far away from Calcutta, from the hustle and bustle of Calcutta, when you go to that delta, and that is where you realize that's with such strong conviction that she flows, but she flows in blessing, knowing very well that she will lose her identity. And in reaching there, while blessing all these people, what are the different kinds of troubles, blocks that she has to go through, and yet consistently work at reaching across, blessing all of us. There are huge mountains, and she doesn't start saying, how do I do this now? There's a huge mountain. She very beautifully takes the feminine form and goes onto the contours of the rough contours of the mountain, adding beauty to that mountain, which would have been blocking its flow, and takes the contours around that mountain to find its path. Sometimes there are these huge rocks, and I'm saying huge rocks when you are, say, about 100 feet above on a bus or a car driving, and from that distance it seems like a small piece of rock, but when you reach closer, it is like a huge mountain piece, smack in the middle. She doesn't lose her spirit. She constantly works at it. And she has been working at it for ages, that her soft, gentle flow has cut deep into those stubborn rocks, and she has paved her path through. And sometimes these mountains in the Himalayas, the soil is very loose. In rainy season, the entire mountains collapse in to the valley, blocking the flow of this gigantic river, almost sounding like for good. And she doesn't seem to be in any kind of despondency that, oh my God, what do I do now? How do I flow? How do I reach? She patiently waits. She patiently waits, gathering all the potentiality to find that weak moment that she can blast through this dam that has been artificially formed across her flow and vision to serve humanity. Waits for that. And then once she starts flowing, nothing can stop her. Looking at this constant pattern in Mother Ganga and her deep desire to come down to the plains and help is what triggered Gurudev to that inspiring moment. He said, I have learned this beautiful knowledge, beautiful wisdom. Not long ago, I was a part of this humanity whose ancestors had this knowledge as their privilege. I have grown in that culture, in that Vaidika Samskriti, so cut off, aloof from my own roots, my own Samskriti, that I was not aware of it until I hit 30, 35. He was an educated mass, you would call them the cream of the society. And he was oblivious to the treasures that were hidden in our own culture. And a sting operation that he conceived way before this inspiring moment wherein he wanted to unearth, because he had read about Swami Shivanandaji's life and he had a roaring business in Malaysia. He left that roaring business of being a doctor and come and establish this little ashram, which was now thriving, that people would come from far and wide. So in a very logical, calculated manner, he said, there should be something more that this sannyasi must be gaining, that he has left his roaring business back there to come here, and what must he be doing on the pretext of running an ashram? There is something much more than what he is showing that he must be gaining. So he goes there to investigate the so-called sadhus, only to become one. In Hindi, there is a song, and the song says, "Shikar khud yahan, shikar ho gaya." The hunter became the hunted. And he went there with the enthusiasm to catch something red-handed. And little did he know that he was caught himself, gladly so. And then he decides to take this intensely, and looking at this intensity, Swami Shivanandaji Maharaj sent him to Tapona Maharaj. And at Tapona Maharaj's feet, for about 2.5 years, the rigors with which he had to learn, it's no way comparable to what comforts we are having to learn the same message. I'm sure Vivek would appreciate the comfort, because anything less than, I can truly understand, because I come from Vijayawada, wherein for about 5-6 months the normal temperature is 115 to 120. From there I come to Dallas, and in Dallas, if it goes below 60, I would be wearing layers. Now we have, outside it is so cold, but inside we have this beautiful comfort in which we can communicate, understand, and grow. For his effort, there was no such comfort. And neither was it offered by Swami Tapona Maharaj. He said that all that you will be given is that I'll ask the neighbor who has a cow shed. You may have to accommodate yourself in there. And he spent about 2.5 years under Swami Tapona Maharaj, whenever they were in Uttarkashi, to spend in that cow shed. And most of the lectures were not like in a seated environment. Swami Tapona Maharaj would be running through these Himalayan mountains. He would be exploring different paths. And while walking, he'll be communicating. And there was no scope for anybody to take notes or record his voice, or for a later time, so that you could sit down and transcribe it for your own notes. There was nothing like that. He had to listen, understand, assimilate, grasp, remember, and reproduce it when asked for. Quite challenging environment. The stay was not comfortable. The teaching technique was not comfortable. Food, having grown up himself in such luxuries, he was belonging to a royal family, that when he went to the ashram, they would get one meal in the nearby, it's called Annakshetra, the place where it feeds all these sadhus. It was Kali Kambliwala's Annakshetra, and they would feed them one meal per day. And one meal per day included 4 pieces of baked dough, which they called roti. And there is no semblance to roti. It was thick, dry, and more like a rubbery texture. He said to chew it, he had to soak it in Ganga for a couple of minutes. Then it would be, I wouldn't say palatable, but at least able to swallow it. And a lota is a container full of dal. And in his own words, if you have read My Treks to Uttarakhand, he says, then I would dip this piece of roti in that so-called dal in search of dal. It was so diluted that there was hardly any dal in it. And you'd get only one meal of 4 rotis. And then continuously walk and learn, quite challenging an environment. He assimilated all that, and that fine day he had this intense urge that I come from this great culture, I am so cut off from what is such a beautiful treasure. What if this be given to entire humanity, whoever would care for it? Give it to them in a language that they would understand, so that they would benefit in their day-to-day lives with this sacred knowledge applied in their personal experience, and experience this secluded Brahma Vidya in their walk of life. And what was the inspiration? That intense love, that I was not long ago there, and now that I have benefited from it, I should give back to that community, that society, that culture which has lost touch with its own roots. That's why many times you would read in his literature or in his interviews, you would come across people asking him, are you on a mission to convert people to Hinduism? He would say, no. If they want to, it's their choice. But my job is to convert Hindus to Hinduism. Because we have lost touch with our own roots. And that intensity comes from his deep underlying love for entire humanity. And the same matching intentions, that which the scriptures have intended, that his vision also aligns. If you look at the pledge, he does not say that, let us all serve India, let us all serve Hinduism. Instead, he says, wherever you are, whatever nation is providing for your security, food and comfort, service to that nation is the service to the Lord of Lords. See, when we say the Shanti mantras, we all know Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. They were universal in their approach. Let the entire humanity, rather let every being on this earth, not just humanity, every being on this earth experience sukha. May they not experience any kind of dukkha. May they always be healthy. May they always be comfortable. And the same alignment was his vision. Now, when we take this task of being the leadership role in Yuva Kendra, as rightfully Sharanya was pointing it out, that we become the ambassadors of Gurudev, we become the ambassadors of his vision, we become the ambassadors of his entire life's work. And I wouldn't even stop there. I would go one step ahead and say, we are not just becoming an ambassador for Chinmaya Mission or Gurudev. We become the representatives of Sanatana Dharma. That Sanatana Dharma which was represented by nothing less than Rama or Krishna. We become those representatives. That we be charged with his vision in such a way and do, his way of communicating was very aggressive. So it said, don't just be good, be aggressively good. Don't do just good for the goodness sake. Do it so aggressively that anywhere, any good happening, They should be recognizing that, oh, any good happening, it must have been those bunch of people from Chinmay Mission, and they represent Sanatana Dharma. That should be the way that we contribute wherever we are. And how can our contribution make sense? Vivekananda used to say, Atmano mokshaya jagat hitaya cha. It should be a dual purpose serving vision. On one hand, uplifting oneself, Atmano mokshaya, uplifting oneself, self-evolution, self-unfoldment. And with personal self-unfoldment, making sure that wherever we are, we touch as many lives, benefiting them for their personal growth, irrespective of where they come from. Neither nationality nor creed or caste or gender should be coming in their way. This knowledge be given unto them. If that grand vision has to flow through us to the world around us, benefiting us and benefiting everyone around us, it can happen only when we have a strong rooting in love. Love is a very abstract word. Before defining love, I said, love for what? Because at various ages, our love and interests keep changing. As Adi Shankaracharya ji points out aptly, he says, Balastavat krida saktaha. Very intensely passionate about it. What? Study, education, this doesn't bother them. What is it that they love to do? Play, play, play. Balastavat krida saktaha. We grow up. Then what takes our interest? Where is our love? Now these two words don't remain separate. It becomes love interest. Tarunastavat taruni saktaha. Up until then, the parents have to tell us, hey, take care of your clothes, wear properly, your appearance is shabby, take care of yourself, comb your hair, brush your teeth. I know many of them, they go into the bathroom, sprinkle some water, and probably don't even take care of their teeth. But then there comes an age suddenly wherein everything of this becomes important because you have to impress someone to attract their attention. Tarunastavat taruni saktaha. Various tricks, as they say, tricks of the trade. Tarunastavat taruni saktaha. Good chunk of our life and energy and resources already gone by. Then comes the age wherein we have already become old. And old age is filled with regrets. Wish I was young. Wish I had known this then. I would have done a lot of things. Wish I had this opportunity then. Wish I had this wisdom then. And it becomes a wish list or a vicious list, and we get entrapped in chinta. Vriddhastavat chinta saktaha. You must have seen many of these mothers who come to serve us in the YUP courses. After seeing the intensity with which the training is going on, they usually have a tear or two. Why? It is a mixed feeling. There are tears of happiness that this knowledge was being given to such age group that it really makes a difference in their life and living. They have a future to mark. And if it is the tears of joy on one hand, it is mixed with tears of regrets. Wish I had this knowledge then I would not have been doing many things that I am entrapped in right now. We do go through various phases of this love, but love for what? So in the Narada Bhakti Sutras, which is what was the basis for Puja Gurudev's letters when he used to write to the children, Balavihar or Yuva Kendra, and it was compiled and it was called as I Love You Letters. And when I came into Dallas, that was the syllabus for 6th graders. I was like to my daughter, what will they understand? It is such a sublime message being given. It requires a serious bent of mind to understand the depth of that. So in that Narada Bhakti Sutra, one of the sutras, Narada Rishi says, and let me tell you, people have a wrong notion or opinion about poor Narada. That he is often termed as Kalaha Priya. Kalaha means the one who instigates troubles. So he is often known as troublemaker Narada. But what he actually contributed, that wherever he stepped in whosoever life that he stepped in, I mean, though given on the outer surface, it looks like he is creating troubles. But eventually, those troubles that he has created for that individual or for that environment, everyone that he has touched in his life has received nothing less than darshan of Bhagavan. If those are the troubles that take me closer to Bhagavan, why not? Isn't it? It's an easy way out. That somebody who messes with me so that I reach to the doorsteps of Bhagavan, why not? And that suits his name. In today's world, when we do some mischief and we just say Narayana, I didn't intend to, but it just happened to, like Narada. What does his name suggest? His name suggests Naram Dadati Yaha Saha. Narada. Nara means knowledge, pure wisdom. The Dadati, the one who bestows upon, gives. The one who gives pure knowledge and wisdom is called Narada. And that is a root word for Nara and Nari, men and women folk. Who is qualified for this knowledge? Human beings, Nara, Nari. Once you gain this knowledge, what do you achieve? What do you reach? Narayana. What does Narayana mean? Lord Divine, yes. It is he who has expressed himself as Vishnu, who comes down to take care of all of us. But the deeper sense of meaning of Narayana, Ayana means abode, house of. No, I'm not talking of house of cards. House of what? House of Nara. Nara means house of wisdom, house of knowledge. Nara Nari, who are qualified for that wisdom, reach to the abode of Narayana, which is the abode of wisdom. And if in this life we do not make use of that opportunity, where do we reach? That where knowledge gets killed. That is why it is called Naraka. Naraka, that where wisdom or knowledge is annihilated. So if we are not with wisdom and behaving, we are not behaving wise, we are behaving otherwise, what does it say? that we don't need to find hell, we are in one. So such Narada, who gives that wisdom to take us to our abode of Narayana, such is Narada. So in his Narada Bhakti Sutras, he says, one of the most important sutras, love intensifies depending on what we love. The higher and the nobler one that we love, the higher is the scope for us to grow, evolve. The meaner, baser things that we love, we get trapped in that existence alone. The higher is our love, the higher is our dedication, the higher is the scope for us to reach. And what is the highest that we can love? The highest that we can achieve to love is that Paramatma. The next is the path that takes me to that Paramatma. The next love. The methods that I have to use on this path to reach that Paramatma is the third level of love. And that which I am interacting with day in and day out is nothing but the expression of that Paramatma. Therefore, my every interaction is interacting with that Paramatma, leading me unto him. Therefore, the entire life gets transformed. And for that transformation to occur, where should the change start? Always from one's own self. Therefore, when I say love, love for what? Love for the Lord Supreme. Love for the path that has been shown. We are blessed enough to have the abundance of grace of Gurudev in our life, that he has weeded out various things in the name of tradition, in the name of culture, in the name of customs and rituals, that which we can be entrapped in. He weeded them out very consciously and gave us that clear path. In fact, he has not just created a path, he has even paved the path with such comfort that all that you have to do is consistently walk through it. Very few people that you come across with that kind of depth in their vision. That depth which is not just benefiting them or benefiting their next year of chelas or disciples, but generations of them who can follow this will reach there. Such was the grand vision. That even if you don't even have to think about it, you just have to walk that path and you'll reach there. But even then, he doesn't say that just believe it because I say so. He says even this path, investigate thoroughly, understand it, and then apply in your life. So love for that Lord, love for the one who has shown us this path, and love for the means that the scriptures have shown. And when people talk of Hinduism, they usually blame us that our religion is the most complicated religion. Because in the name of simplicity, what they demand is Usually that is what is a frequently asked question. FFAQ. Frustratingly frequently asked question. Why don't we have such simple method wherein we have one book, one day, one God? Richness of a society and culture is in its variety, isn't it? When you talk of your foods, we have North Indian food, South Indian food. We have Western Indian food. I shouldn't say West Indies food. Well, they will include that also. It is also developed by Indians. East Indian food. And within that, there are so many variations. And when you talk of these varieties, it just shows the richness which is abundantly found in these varieties. So don't be shallow in criticizing the Hindu tenets, saying that they are very complicated. It is the most pragmatic, simplified, catering to every mindset that is available out there. To every mindset, the path is catered. And what is a broad classification? Those scriptures, we have simplified the entire path, saying you have three instruments. What are the three instruments? Poet, P-O-E-T. What are they? BMI, body, mind and intellect. To perfect ourselves through body, Karma Yoga. To perfect ourselves through the emotions is Bhakti Yoga. To perfect ourselves through intellect, Jnana Yoga. Having fine-tuned these three, the fourth one is to establish oneself in that final abode of Narayana. Abode of Narayana is through Dhyana Yoga. Is it that difficult to understand? If you go into your bathroom and you open that closet behind the mirror, mirror, what do you see? You open that mirror and behind that, probably you have the most confusing concoctions. To remove nail polish, there is one kind. To remove the foundation and there is one kind of solution. To scrub that skin, there is one kind of solution. Hand sanitizer is different. Body soap is different. Face wash is different. Right? It seems to be more confusing. But the entire scriptures, if you can broadly classify it, it's been very beautifully streamlined. You have three equipments, three methods to purify them and fine-tune them. And finally, abiding happens through the fourth process called Dhyana Yoga, path of meditation. How difficult can it be? Love for that scripture. So love for God, love for that Guru who has shown this path in such simplified way, love for the scriptures that have made it possible for us to apply it in our day-to-day life, though it is ancient, though it is age-old, but still applicable with that freshness even today. Because as somebody said, a good advice never gets old. If it is really good, it should be applicable irrespective of time or space. And Sanatana Dharma is that age-old good advice. So love for the scriptures, love for the path that is shown. An aspect of that path is to extend oneself while self unfoldment is happening. You extend that in the name of seva or service to reach across whoever you can reach in your own boundaries. That this knowledge, if it has benefited you, it should be benefiting 100 others. If in our entire stretch of life, if we can even make an impression and touch in bringing a change in one human being, worth the effort. That satisfaction is like a MasterCard. What is a MasterCard? Come on. Priceless. For everything else, there is the card that you can pay with. But this is priceless, the satisfaction. Because you are not just giving a person a mouthful to feed himself, but you are teaching him how to fend for himself and stand rooted in firm values. That self-evolution has to happen. Why do we need to create these many mission centers and chick groups and Balavihar groups? And it would be a very narrow tunnel vision if it is to develop Chinmaya mission, develop the numbers and strength of Chinmaya mission. Gurudev never instilled in it in that kind of a pattern, never talked about these numbers, never encouraged anybody to talk in those terms. So much so that once I was traveling in India, there was this, he was very famous, and he was leading a group of, a sect of Hindu culture, or Hindu tradition would be the right word. And we happened to be in the same train. And as soon as I heard that there was this Mahatma who was traveling in the same train, I reached to his compartment and did my Namaskar Chamatkar. And then he looks at me and he asks, "Kaun sang mein ho?" Like, you know, what institution or organization are you in? So I said, Chinmaya mission. तुम्हारे कितने भगत लोग हैं? How big is your devotee, or what do you call that? Congregation. How many devotees follow you? I was like, 0. Kaise Mahatma ho? What kind of a Mahatma are you that you don't have even one devotee following you? Because Gurudev's intention was never to develop a personal, what do you call it? Click. A Pasi, okay. A personal click. And no, that was not his intention. In fact, if you look at some of the institutions, if there is a Mahatma following, there is an entourage of 100 of them following to serve that one. And his intention was, your service is not required for me. Instead of following me to serve me, follow that vision which is given by Sanatana Dharma so that you can serve millions. Now Guruji, in charge of Chinmaya mission across the world, unless somebody comes and tells you that he is the head of Chinmaya mission, he's so unassuming, because there is no hangama around him. With that tiny little suitcase of his and one more bag of his, he'll walk out and stand there. And then somebody comes with garlands and big piloting and cars and other. Say, "Kaun hai wo?" Like, who is he? He is Chinmaya mission. He's the head. Head? I didn't even think, he just passed by me. Like, I didn't even recognize that he would be a head. I mean, the idea is that it is not to create your personal clique or personal group for yourself. It is to inspire them so that they can be an inspiration for 100 others. And that is why this love becomes that important. How intense should be that love? I'll end it with a story. You all have been to yatras, you have heard of this place, CIRS. CIRS. It's an international residential school, Chinmay International Residential School. The Swamiji who started that entire project was not alive to see it come through. But because of his efforts, we have that land. And his simple plan was very, very simple actually. How do we raise funds? He said, India has 1 billion population. I'll go across, walk, live on alms, and every person that I come across, I'll explain this vision and expect 1 rupee from every person. Even if I can touch about 10% of it, I have raised enough funds for the entire school. How simple is the trick? Then 1 rupee. It's not even a coffee. 1 cup of coffee. It's not even that much. Just 1 rupee. And he had raised quite an amount. He was falling short of some amount. And in a nearby area, there was this a very wealthy man. And he somehow would go to his doors and say that, this is the vision. I have raised this much. I'm just falling short of this much. Would you please pitch in? And after that first, interaction, he would keep postponing and not meeting him, give him a date and not be available and not be there at home. So this Swamiji stood there, and that particular eventful day, this businessman had a very rough day and he was stepping out of his house. He must have been very irritated that this Swamiji went there and he said, well, you asked me to come. Now I am here. What is your word? What do you want to give? Very focused on that. So he was so already, irritated, and he found a vent to throw all his irritation. He shoved him, and that itself is quite belittling or whatever. And something, that irritation or rage he couldn't control, he turned around and he spits on this Swamiji. Like, you wretched fellows, you're hale and hearty and you're healthy looking. Instead of begging like this, you should be working, all the 9 yards. And he spits at him. Imagine the intensity of conviction born out of that love for Paramatma, love for that Shastra, love for Guru, love for the path, love for the entire humanity, that this path be given to all of them. He takes his cloth on his shoulder, wipes it up. I said, that you have given to me. Now what are you ready to give to my Gurudev? He wipes that spit off his face and says, that you have given to me. Okay, fine, I accept it. What are you going to give to my Gurudev? And this businessman, he was, something inside him transformed, and whatever was the balance amount, he said, I'll write you a check. Just because of that intensity with which you are working, must have been really a great cause. That I have insulted you, I have done things which are not worthy of mention, and you have taken it in your stride because your love for your Guru and his vision. If that is the kind of personality that it can bring in us as leaders who understand him, his vision and his work, we would definitely be transformed. Through us, millions would be transformed. That love is the basis. We will continue the next two satsangs in understanding love for that vision and love for the methods of how we can apply these different methods and evolve. I'm not going to say that go, increase Chinmay mission or increase Chick. All that I'll focus is improve yourself. Stand as that ideal. The rest of it will follow behind you. The rest of it will happen. Open yourself up for his vision and he will work through you. Can we do at least that much? If that be achieved, I tell you, he works miracles through. And when somebody says, comes and appreciates you're doing a great job, you'll feel ashamed. What am I doing? I'm a worthless, insignificant being. It is because of him that it flows through. And whenever me and Ramakrishnananji, when we used to sit together, we wonder. I mean, his education and my education are not that big of depth or anything. And we both got into Chinmay Mission, educated in Chinmay Mission at the same time frame, got Diksha and Sannyas in the same time. So when we look back at our life, minus Gurudev, his vision and our intention, our intensity towards his vision and understanding, we are nothing but zero. And while we were thinking this, we meet Guruji in Krishnalaya. And Guruji was in his own mood and we were pressing his feet. And after his, he was singing and he was still holding on to that harmonium. And very philosophically, completely withdrawn. He says, "Main kaun hu?" Who am I? After all, I am a person with a peti. Peti is the harmonium. If Gurudev could transform me, this is Guruji speaking. If Gurudev could transform me to be this able, worthy vehicle, means to reach across, I'm sure his plans can transform millions. If I can change, anybody in this world can change. If Guruji says it that way, then what are we? And that just gives us that inspiration to find that enthusiasm to change oneself from within, to open oneself up so that he can work his wonders through us. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.